Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today's video is going to be on high cholesterol and why the fat and cholesterol you eat doesn't really have that much of an impact on your cholesterol. Really excited. And I did my own cholesterol test just last week, so we'll take a look and see my numbers. And you guys kind of probably know what I eat. Lower carb, paleo-ish, kind of ketogenic template. Lots of high quality fats and proteins and things like that. And we'll talk about what that actually does to your lipids, and I'll give you a real life example here today. So first off, cholesterol, what is it? It's a very powerful, important building block. It's an antioxidant. So when cholesterol goes up, typically if it's an acute issue, there's usually some kind of stress or inflammation, or if it's acute, right, it's using it as a Band-Aid to help provide healing capacity, whether it's inflammation in the arteries, sleep issues, stress issues. So cholesterol is very healing and does have acute benefits. Now, inflammation, if it's chronic, like trans fats, junky foods, grains, high amounts of insulin, right? And what stimulates insulin? Lots of refined carbohydrates, processed sugar, grains, acellular carbohydrates, those kind of things. So if you find yourself eating a lot of those junky foods, that can easily increase that HMG-CoA reductase enzyme, which actually stimulates more cholesterol production. We'll put an image on screen in a minute. And so that's a big variable because people think, well, if I'm like being vegan or vegetarian and avoiding those things, guess what? You can still eat a very high carbohydrate diet, which I find lots of vegetarians and vegans do. And I've seen vegans and vegetarians with cholesterol in the 300s without actually eating any cholesterol. Why is that? Because 90% of the cholesterol in your body is made by your body. Food only has maybe a 5 or 10% impact on it. And the foods that do increase cholesterol production in your bodies aren't even cholesterol foods. They're going to be inflammatory foods, like I mentioned, or they're going to be foods that are very high in carbohydrate, because those foods, carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates, the more processed they are. We're not talking vegetables and low sugar fruits. We're talking more processed grains, flours, refined sugars, or just excess higher carbohydrate foods on the fruit and starch side. Those things get converted to glucose at some point, or even fructose, and those increase insulin secretion. And the more insulin you have, the more you're actually going to be stimulating that HMG-CoA reductase enzyme, which will be making more cholesterol. Let's take a look at that. Okay, let me get the right screen on here for y'all. So here's a little video or image here. So this insulin promotes HMG-CoA reductase transcription. So you're activating this HMG-CoA reductase enzyme. Why is this HMG-CoA reductase enzyme important? Well, this is the same enzyme that statins inhibit, right? Statins are an HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor. So if this is HMG-CoA reductase, it gets activated via phosphorylation. So this NAD, right? This is from the Krebs cycle, gets converted to NADPH to NADP. So you lose a hydrogen, okay? So there is essentially a oxidation occurring, right? Oxidation is a loss of an electron. So you lose the hydrogen. So this is oxidation right here, okay? And this enzyme activates acetyl-CoA from HMG-CoA to mevalonate. And this is a powerful antioxidant. And it's not showing it here, but this mevalonate pathway, this actually goes downstream to CoQ10. So this is one of the negative effects that statins have. The mevalonate pathway goes to CoQ10. So one of the major consequences of taking a statin is you knock out this enzyme, right? This backs up acetyl-CoA. It doesn't go downstream to the pathway here, the mevalonate pathway that goes downstream to CoQ10. So this is very important because if we're taking statins, we're actually going to be depleting CoQ10. So very important. So look, what does insulin do? Insulin increases phosphorylation. It activates the HMG-CoA reductase enzyme, increasing mevalonic acid pathways, increasing cholesterol. Now, what inactivates HMG-CoA reductase? What inactivates it? Guess what? Glucagon does. And what stimulates glucagon production? Plenty of high-protein foods stimulate glucagon production. Here's one study right here. Sardine protein increases plasma glucagon, right? So very important. So how do you decrease your natural cholesterol production in your body? We're not talking internal. We're not talking external via the food. We're talking internal via these enzymes. Is eating more protein and keeping carbohydrate down. So look here, insulin activates the HMG. That increases the mevalonic acid pathway, the and increases the cholesterol. And then if you go down the glucagon pathway, guess what happens? Glucagon pathway, more protein, less of this. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And so in general, acetyl-CoA, really important. HMG-CoA, right? HMG-CoA goes to the mevalonic acid pathway. That goes to CoQ10. The more insulin you have, the more you stimulate that production. Excess cholesterol isn't good either, especially if you're doing it because of insulin resistance, right? So we do want to have good cholesterol because that helps with CoQ10 metabolism. And then what are the ways that we can internally reduce it? Guess what? We just eat higher quality protein and we keep our carbs in check. It's one of the key ways. Now let's look at Dr. J blood test I just got a couple days ago. Here we go. This is my cardiac profile right here. So cholesterol 169. And again, good or bad cholesterol, it's not necessarily a problem. Once you get above 310, 320, the Framingham Heart Study shows an increased risk factor of potential heart attack or stroke. So you don't want it to go too high. There is a condition called hypercholesterolemia, which is a genetic condition where there's no brakes. There's no brakes on this enzyme here, right? So you're just, the HMG-CoA reductase enzyme is out of control and you're making too much of it, right? But you can see here, eat lots of protein, eat lots of fat. Guess what? Cholesterol 169. Let's go look at my LDL. LDL is 106. That's fine as well. Look at my trigs, 59. Now, one of the most important markers is trigs over HDL. So if my trig's at 59 and my HDL, I think, was at 50, that's like a 1.1 to 1 ratio. That's really good. You want to be under 2. Closer to 1 is ideal. And then look at my glucose as well. Glucose was at about 80, I want to say. Bing, right there. That's pretty good. Nice in the 80 level. And then look at my HDL to look at my cholesterol. Actually, I want to see my total cholesterol to HDL ratio. They didn't do it. But total cholesterol, if it's 1, let's do the math right now. 169 over 50, right? 169 over 50. 3.38. So as a guy, once you get to 3.5 or below, you're half the average risk factor for a cardiovascular incident. So you can see these lipids are basically textbook perfect, okay? Textbook perfect. And this is actually for a life insurance policy I'm applying for. So had to do that. So you can see here, you can eat a healthy paleo template, high quality proteins, and you aren't really affecting anything. You can see my glucose levels, fructosamine. This is like a 10-day window into blood sugar. Perfect, really good. Bun looks good. Creatinine protein levels look good. Glomerular filtration, alk-phos, bilirubin. So you can kind of get a window into my metabolism, see if I'm cheating on my homework here. What do you think? Liver enzymes all look pretty good. Gallbladder enzymes, total protein, albumin, globulin, all pretty good. Everything on the leukocyte side was pretty good. Tested me for nicotine as well. Obviously, that came back negative. Wouldn't want to put any cancer sticks in my mouth. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea. So you can see here in real world action, the cholesterol that you eat doesn't really have much of an impact. Now, what does have an impact is the inflammatory nature of foods, right? Foods are very important. Cholesterol is really important. It's a powerful antioxidant. We don't want to avoid it. We want to avoid the carbohydrate and all the crap that overactivates that enzyme to make more cholesterol. We talked about the mevalonic or the mevalonic acid or the CoQ10 pathways that are very important. Cholesterol is a building block for CoQ10. CoQ10 is very important. It's ubiquinone. CoQ10 is very important for the mitochondria. It helps gather up a whole bunch of hydrogens and helps generate ATP. It's involved heavily in the electron transport chain. So very, very important that we have good CoQ10. So we don't want to take statins to reduce it unless there's some extreme risk factor that we're not aware of here. So talk to your doctor about that. But in general, lower carbohydrates can be one of the best things you can do to reduce your cholesterol production. And even if your friends and family think, hey, you're eating all this fat, you're eating all this protein and cholesterol, you're going to clog your arteries. Look, not necessarily the case, okay? Remember, saturated fat starts to get about liquid at about 70, 75 degrees. What does that mean? Well, your body's 98.6 degrees. So fat is never going to be hard in your body. It's always going to be liquid. You'll have micelles and things like that are transporting it, and your body will use it to build up cell membranes. It will use it for hair, skin, and nail building blocks. It will also use it for energy. So really important. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this content. If you want to dive deeper, you want to look at your cholesterol or your hormones or make sure your diet's on track to have optimal healthy cholesterol, click down below. You can schedule with myself or colleagues worldwide. If you enjoy the content, thumbs up. Make sure you hit the bell so you get more notifications of great content coming your way. And let me know what you think. Put your comments down below. All right, hope you enjoyed today's video. Let's dive into a couple of questions. What's up, guys? Dr. J, my husband had a heart attack a month ago and wanted to go to the ER for 2 weeks. So what is a IDT, or is that the right name for it? But they might put in them. Not sure what you're saying there. So IDT, I think that's some type of a blood clot I think you're referring to. I think idiopathic thrombosis or some kind of a thrombocyte type of platelets issue that I'm seeing there. Probably something either in the probably a heart, probably a thrombocyte issue in the heart if it's a heart attack, right? Thrombocyte issue, clot in the brain's a stroke, right? Pulmonary embolus if it goes to the lungs. So in regards to solutions, all the things we just chatted about, all very important. Is it possible to have good HDL and low triglyceride levels but unhealthy arteries? I mean, it depends. So it may take a while for your arteries to turn around, but if your lipids start to improve, that's a great sign that everything else in your body is improving, of course, and keeping high quality fats in the loop there, decreasing insulin, decreasing inflammation via the food are all powerful ways to reverse it. And so you can look at things like homocysteine, CRP, you can look at your insulin levels, you can look at your liver enzymes, you can look at your blood sugar markers. That's a good indication. And then you can look at your lipid particle size, right? Particle size, I didn't even talk about this, but when we look at lipids, we have particle size A and B. A is good, B, A like A on the test, and B for bad, okay? So A is large, fluffy, buoyant LDL particles. B is for small, dense atherosclerotic particles. Small, dense atherosclerotic particles get into little fissures, create foam cells, which can create blockages. Large, fluffy, buoyant ones don't create that level of blockage. So high-quality proteins, fats, getting more, at least half your fats from high-quality animal fats is key. Stay away from the refined, junky, processed vegetable oils. Those are going to get oxidized very easily. Also been fairly low carb for years, sugary binges sprinkled through years, but fasting, insulin 3.4, fasting, glucose 85. I don't worry about diabetes. Yeah, that's good. That's smart. You know, if it just depends upon how good or how long your lipids have been that way. If like you just changed it around and it's a month later, there could be some, artery integrity issues, but it should all improve. You can also look at fibrinogen and clotting factors to make sure clotting is not too high. Good morning. How do I strengthen my adrenals if I have adrenal fatigue? Take a look at other podcasts and videos. This video is not going to be the one for that. Awesome that you're sharing your actual test. So important when choosing a doctor to work with. Thank you. You're welcome. When is it the best time to take ubiquinol? So it depends. If people have low energy, we'll run organic acid tests and we'll look at like fumarate or malate, succinate. We'll look at different organic acid markers and that will tell us if we need more CoQ10. That's a pretty good indication. If you have heart issues, taking extra CoQ10, 300 to 500 milligrams is still great. It will provide good energy for your heart. It's part of the reason why there are so many statin issues. When you block the mevalonic acid pathway and you don't make your internal CoQ10, you're going to get muscle soreness, you're going to get cognitive issues, you're going to have energy issues, mood issues. Your heart's a muscle that's beating all the time, so CoQ10 is a really important energy compound for the heart. So especially if you have heart failure or any heart stress, you want to make sure CoQ10 is there. Best time to take it, probably morning, afternoon. It can provide energy, so it's better to take it then versus before bed. Are there any tests to check how the liver is doing that are accurate? I mean, you saw my liver enzymes on there, right? ALT, AST, GGT, those are all liver/gallbladder markers. You can also run an organic acid test and look at better organic acid markers like sulfate and pyroglutamate and orotate and phenylacetate. There's a bunch of markers that look at sulfur aminos and glutathione. What test would you suggest to figure out where your heart is outside of a coronary artery test? You mean like how it's doing? So you could do like some kind of an echo, ultrasound could be helpful. They have the calcium plaque test, but there's a lot of radiation with that. You could just do a lot of the blood tests I just mentioned to give yourself a good window. I have constant burning in my nose. I'm running away from a lion. What can be the reason? Yeah, not the best video for that. I won't be able to go into that. But in general, when you have nose issues, go watch. You should be making a lot of the diet change we talked about, but go watch my nasal flush video. Go to YouTube, type in my name, and then nasal flush, and you should find it. You mentioned taking in good quality proteins. Is there anything you can to fight against the not so organic meats? That's just one. Just eat due to budget. Okay. So I kind of understand what you're saying. So regarding high quality meats, they're really important. Try to, get, so there's like tiers, right? There's like conventional meat, right? There's like fast food meat, right? That's like the lowest tier, like Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's. Then there's like conventional meat. And then there's a natural meat, right? Natural tends to just mean maybe hormone free, antibiotic free, right? Then there's going to be organic, which means they may still be getting like grains and corn, but at least it's organic. There's no GMOs and typically no antibiotics. Then there's like organic pasture fed, where they're giving them access to more grasses and more natural types of foods, organic, no hormones, no antibiotics, no pesticides, no GMOs. Then there's 100% pasture fed, where that's all they have access to. So that's kind of the general tier. And so 80-20, try to eat at the highest level of that tier for as long as you can. That's the best thing you can do. You can also look at buying things in bulk. U.S. Wellness Meats, go to justinhealth.com/meat, and you can see some of the meats that I'll get. Some of the ground beef there is great. Freeze it, and you're good to go. I like to get my steaks pretty fresh. So I'll get the 100% pasture-fed, or I'll at least get the grass-fed ones at Whole Foods for sure. Just want an option. I just want an opinion. I went to a doctor the other day. My jaw has been getting stiffer and I can't open my mouth without suffering. The doctor prescribed me antidepressant for it. I don't understand. So why is your jaw getting stiff? Did you get tetanus? Did you step on a nail? Any possibility there? Are you grinding your teeth at night? Those would be things I want to look at. So I'd want to talk to a really good chiropractor that can look at my jaw muscles and maybe do some soft tissue work or some adjusting. If you're grinding your teeth a lot, maybe look into a good night guard, a good teeth guard. And there could be a parasite issue. Parasites can cause teeth grinding. It's always possible. Could indigestion, burping be a heart issue and not necessarily a digestion issue? It depends. If you're noticing it happening more when you're starting to eat meals versus all the time, then it's more than likely a heartburn issue from digestion. If it's more of a heart pain issue and it's all the time, irregardless of eating, then it's probably a heart issue. Great questions. All right, what's on here, y'all? Can low cholesterol be a problem? What is the healthy optimal range? Yeah, you want to be at least above 120. I'm not typically worried about low cholesterol, number one, unless you're on a statin, or number two, you're vegan or vegetarian. And it's possible for some people, they don't, like meat and animal products do have an influence on cholesterol, right? You saw my test. I was at 160 for cholesterol, right? So for some people, it can have a greater impact. Now, one of the hidden reasons why cholesterol could be high too is low thyroid. So if your cholesterol levels are really low high, you want to look at your thyroid to make sure thyroid's not part of the issue. Thyroid hormone helps you metabolize cholesterol into the hormone building blocks, pregnenolone, and all the other hormones down the cascade. So at least 120, I only worry if you're on a statin or you're a vegan vegetarian and you're just not getting any extra cholesterol. That could also be driving it too low as well. Especially vegans that like exercise a ton, because even though they're eating a lot of carbs, they're burning it up. They may be just more genetically, at a good place with their cholesterol, and they're driving it lower by going vegan. All right, excellent questions, guys. Let me see if there are any other questions here on YouTube and Facebook. Also, ask for your blood work. Make sure HDL is high enough compared to LDL. Can you explain the ratio correlation? Yeah, for me, I look at HDL to total cholesterol. You want it for a guy, 3.5 or below is half the average risk factor. At least 4 is pretty good. 4 is pretty good. More importantly is your trig to HDL ratio. Trigs will go up when you consume lots of carbohydrates. So ideally 2 to 1 for trigs to HDL. What does that mean? So we don't want, if your trigs are at 100, we want the HDL to be at least at 50. That's a 2 to 1 ratio. Ideally closer to 1 to 1. So like 50 to 50 like mine was, or 75 to 75 is fine too. Those are one of the most important ratios. Low HDL is a problem, should be 50-ish, but ratio to LDL is important. I'm not worried about the LDL that much. Just don't worry about it. Look at the total cholesterol. Look at your HDL, the total cholesterol, because the LDL is already calculated in there, right? Total cholesterol's LDL, HDL, VLDL. And so when you're looking at total cholesterol over HDL, LDL is already factored in. Like, you can look at mine here. I'll put it up on screen. If you're looking on Facebook, you can't see it. Let's see here. You can see my LDL is right in range, but I'm not really too concerned about it. And again, the ranges they use, for instance, like, let me pull it up here. Like my trigs at 59, that's good. Cholesterol over HDL ratio, 3.34, that's really good. LDL is 106. Now, if my LDL is a little bit higher, if my total cholesterol was in the 200s, would I be concerned? No, I wouldn't be that concerned. Just want to make sure ratios are good. If the ratios were off for a little bit, what would I do? I would just want to make sure insulin's good, homocysteine's good, C-reactive protein's good, and you can also run fibrinogen and clotting factors too. They ran some clotting factors down here for me, because the more sticky your cells get, the more they clot, the more you can pull a stroke or a heart attack. So albumin, globule, so right here. I'll pull it up here for y'all. Let's see here, nicotine, nope. Urine protein, urine glucose, negative, negative, negative. Globulin good, albumin good, protein good. See if they got it here. GFR, bun, fructosamine, glucose, cholesterol, HDL. Okay, it must have been on my wife's blood test that they ran that. They ran a clotting factor for her, not for me. All right, so in general, I hope that helps. Is there anything else here question-wise? Awesome, y'all. Anything else? Our functional medicine doctor is the only one that can order these tests you've done. No, I mean, conventional doctors can do it. If you need it and you don't have a conventional doctor, or you don't want to go see one, you want to reach out to me, I can order that for you, not a problem. These are pretty standard tests. This is just a lipid panel followed by a comprehensive metabolic profile. Nothing that big. I don't even think a CBC was run. You mentioned high cholesterol could be a thyroid issue. Is there a particular ratio that would indicate that? No, you'd want to just, if you saw it excessively high, you'd want to just rule out thyroid. It'd be like on that differential diagnosis list. If you have high cholesterol, we should go and test thyroid. Order tests online. What would be the clotting factor test? You would look at fibrinogen. You can also look at prothrombin time. That's used a lot of times for like dosing warfarin or Coumadin, but fibrinogen will be a good one to look at. All right, excellent, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to dive in deeper, click below. Want to reach out to me, I'm available worldwide. Thumbs up, like, hit the bell to get notifications of great content coming your way. All right, y'all, have a good one. Bye.